Oh, Let Freedom Sing?
Exactly.
Oh,
yeah,
the documentary.
Exactly.
Yeah. Well, Sam Cooke and Curtis Mayfield and later on James Brown, all they did is reflect the movement of the people trying to rebel against the atmosphere that was working against, black folks for hundreds of years. And although the paper said that black folks were free in 1865, it took 100 years for the country to recognize that, and that didn't come without a voice being heard and being screamed or sang. So freedom songs and protest songs came out of the black element when the talking voice was stifled in many cases. And so they knew that they couldn't stop songs, or they couldn't stop art or culture from getting around and being sticky to other people and other aspects of the human race. So freedom songs and protest songs played a heavy part from the 1850s on up, not just by black folks, by all kinds of folks. So, but the freedom songs by Curtis Mayfield, Sam Cooke, James Brown, Miriam Makeba in South Africa, they shouted against the oppression of people. And Public Enemy, to this day, we write songs and we evolve in songs that answer to that. So we've always tried to encourage artists that there's more things to talk about than just what you think about yourself, which we won't condone, because you should be able to talk about yourself. But there should be other aspects of yourself that you should be able to put to the forefront that reflect what the rest of the human beings want. You got to think beyond yourself. So that's why I got involved with Let Freedom Sing. I'm glad that they was able to look at rap songs as being just as movement shaking as some of those classic songs from our past, fighting for the rights for human beings to be treated civil. In music, 10 years is a long time, but in regular life, 10 years is a short time. And we try to bridge that gap with reality and what people are able to kind of deal from a fantasy point of view with their pen and pads or whatever, or iPads or texts. So from Rodney King to Trayvon Martin, why should rap be exempt from being able to answer to that? Pop songs have been exempt from that, but then when you have a group like the Dixie Chicks come out and say something, I mean, why shouldn't a rap group say some things that's just as pertinent? These are three white girls that talked against the establishment and George Bush, and they got heat. And I mean, if they can do it, rap music should be able to really do it. So that's where we come from. Myself, that guy sitting over there, Professor Griff, we've written some songs, and maybe you should talk to him as we break out. All right?
And like R&B, the term in the 40s, and the R&B term in the 90s.
The R&B in the 40s was, rhythm and blues. R&B in the 80s was Reagan'n'Bush.
Some real bullshit.
Yeah, right. Little Richard said real black, and that man right there said some real bullshit. So yeah, so R&B is the rhythm and the blues. It says it was a term coined. He didn't invent the music, but he coined the term, Jerry Wexler, making the Billboard charts in 1948 and 49. They thought that being able to call black music race music was getting to be a derogatory term around the late 40s, so they had to come up with another term. So Jerry Wexler of Atlantic Records later on in Billboard magazine coined it the rhythm and the blues. And it's the crazy thing is that people are, I love R&B, but they don't know where the term came from. Everything has an origin, everything has a start, a beginning point, and rhythm and blues comes from that term that Jerry Wexler coined for a faster sense of black music that was taking place at the time. It was more like jump blues. So rhythm and blues turned into rock and roll, they're the same thing. It just happened to be that more people, more white artists were doing their version of rhythm and the blues, which made it rock and roll. So whenever they look at black artists playing rock or playing guitar and they say that's odd and that's weird, that means you don't have enough history to tell you that it started off that way with some black guy strumming a chord against an old house in Mississippi or Tennessee and Alabama, because they were stifled from being able to speak their mind and speak their voice. So they played their attitude. Hip hop has fallen victim to being designed from the outside than rather from the inside. And when you talk about the inside, you have to have deep perspective on who you are and where it comes from in order for you to say something that reflects the total roundness of the world and people. And that's what all the other musics have done at their start. Once a company gets it and tries to figure out how they could truncate it and make it palatable for the masses by moving the M over and considering them asses, then you get into problem areas of it being able to perform like it once was. You know, its organic beginnings are very important. You can't abandon a song. A song actually has a staple in the time of that space. So the feelings of a change is going to come is cemented into that space. Yes, you can apply it to some things today, but a change is going to come is cemented into that space for which it was created, which came out of Sam Cooke being inspired by Bob Dylan. You know, so Blowing in the Wind inspired Sam Cooke to say, I'm gonna go home and I'm gonna write me a song that's gonna feel just like that. That's why it's important for rap artists to try to raise the bar. Because it's not just raising the bar for yourself, you're raising the standard for the art form and the genre, and you're making other people recognize that that bar is something that they can actually try to hurdle one day with an effort. Well, gospel came from church because it was the sanctuary where black folks once upon a time felt safe from slavery oppression and a white man. So therefore that sanctuary, a lot of things jumped off in the church. So the language was quite political for a very long time before churches got designed in boardrooms. And so this tripped out thing, you know, churches are now allowed to kind of like be manipulated to kind of like not jar society, but to fit in. Before, churches were basically outside of society, so black folks could draw a blueprint. So the music came along with that. Churches in the millennium versus churches in 1931 are two different things when you talk about black community and black folks. You know, once upon a time, black folks could only pray in a house where there was only black folks. Like there was a separation of God in the way that America walked and talked. You know, it was like the same way that they say that, back in the day that black folks had to be buried in different cemeteries. And last I checked, the dead ain't never had no problem with anybody, so, it's a long time coming. So the church actually answered more questions back in the day to society as opposed to like what they do now, which is basically a business venture for a lot of folks. Well, W.E.B. Du Bois was very advanced. He was very advanced with a futuristic viewpoint on an idea on how we should be able to exist here in the United States and also in the world as black folks. The souls of black folks was very important for him to be able to say that we had to be on a certain plane of kind of like doing for self. And it's one of the ideologies. We have a lot of people that have contributed many ideologies, and some of them are juxtaposed, but if they have all forward direction on how we could come up out and be better, they all find a way to fit into a gigantic puzzle that pushes us forward into being accepted in a civilization. You gotta understand, black life has always knocked on the door of civilization here in America, or so-called civilization, and say, accept us. We want to be accepted. I mean, please, come on, put us down. We want to be part of it. While the door is closed and got shackles and all kinds of stuff around it. So the music has always been more like, answer when I actually sing and talk and pray. What's up? I mean, ain't we people too? And the music is, the music doesn't do that today. No.